Welcome to the Fripp virtual training user meeting. We are very excited that you're here, and we do know many of our friends and members will be signing in and watching the replay. However you like to join us, we are happy to have you. You are in for a treat. We have a few changes and we'll be showing you some new features. And with that, the important person to help you connect and communicate, Paul, will you remind everyone how they participate in the polls and ask us a question? And we always find when it's nearly time to finish, that's when everybody sends in their questions. So feel free. We have 3 different categories we're going to focus on, and you will have a poll to select where we put our focus to begin with. So with that, Paul, why don't you take it away, show everyone how they engage, and open the first poll.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. On the right-hand side of your screen, you will see a chat window. Within this chat window, you can enter your short, specific questions. They'll be answered live during the call. And like Ms. Fripp said, don't be shy. We don't want everyone's questions to come at the last moment and keep you too long. Also, in that same section of the screen, there will be polling questions throughout the call. The polling question will pop up below the chat. You'll click your selection, click vote, and you'll have about a minute to vote on that. To start with, we're going to have our poll, are you one of our corporate clients, or are you a speaker/consultant? You'll have about a minute to answer that question. So click in your answer, then click vote.
We find that a lot of the individuals that come live are often our speaker, consultant, coaches community. We are always excited when our corporate clients register, although many of them can't come in the day if they have sales calls. We are happy to have anyone, and we are, as you've noticed, we are changing the times of the meetings because we also have people in other countries, and we're doing our best to serve everybody. So do we have an answer, Paul?
Absolutely. Actually, it's 50-50.
Oh, wonderful.
Just had another answer. Sorry about that. It's speakers, consultants, 60%, corporate clients, 40%.
Okay, well, that's fine. Just because the examples will depending on the audience. And we have another polling question that's short and sweet.
Yes. Have you signed into FrippVT in the last week? You'll have a yes or no answer there. And just in a moment, you'll be able to click on that and put in your answer.
And as you know, within Fripp Virtual Training, there is testing, tracking, and monitoring. So with our corporate clients, everybody's manager gets to see their activity every week. And I just want you to know, Paul and I see your activity every week. So you don't be telling us something that isn't true, because we can find out. So what is the answer, Paul?
56% said yes, they have logged in, and 44% said no.
Well, Paul, why don't you show them a 1-minute video clip from one of my favorite, and frankly, one of our audience's favorite chapters in Options of Openings.
Absolutely.
Welcome to You Have Choices, Options of Openings, the Techniques. As you soon will come to discover, our subtitle is How to Open Your Presentation with Impact. At the beginning of a speech, presentation, seminar, client meeting, report to senior management, sales presentation, or any manner of presentation you deliver, you need to arouse interest in the subject. After all, we stand in the rain to see a movie. Would you stand in the rain to listen to your presentation? There, good. Thank you, Paul. This weekend, I was at the Technology Lab, and I was demoing a Webinar Jam, which is this platform, and and Zoom, which is another technology that we use for client meetings and demos. And I found out that you can do what we've just done. So I sent Paul a short video. This is hopefully for your amusement as well as mine. Now, the next polling question, because we have 3 subjects. So Paul, what is the next poll?
The next poll is, are you most interested in finding content, finding customers, or finding audiences?
And while you are answering those, let's deliver some content about each area. So first of all, finding content. In FrippVT, the best place to go is mining the treasure trove of your life, because if you are a professional speaker or someone who considers them a speaker, a consultant, or coach, you are certainly going to tell a lot of stories and draw on your life experience. If you are one of our corporate clients, you are certainly going to always want to mine your, let's just say, your list of satisfied clients for using stories and examples of how you can improve your service or how you can sell your service or your product by giving happy customer examples. Another way that you will be developing content is to paint a picture of what is possible in the future. Once a client takes your service or invests in your product, what will their life be like? So it's what I call the project into the future. So, all right, Paul, what do our audience members tell us?
57% say finding customers, and 43% says finding audiences. And then no one selected finding content.
Well, all right. Well, I'm glad I answered that first. So finding customers. As we know, when we have an existing client, we want to hang on to them. There is a Frippicism, which is the real sale comes after the sale, which is reselling your customers that you are still their vendor of choice. So I would encourage you to invest in nurturing the relationships you have. Your best customers are probably the hottest prospects for your competitors. I remember when I was in the hairstyling business, the first week I opened my business, Manny Lozano, who's a multi-millionaire, said, Patricia, I don't care when you can't squeeze another client into your salon. I don't care when you can't squeeze another stylist in here. You still keep promoting, because you always have to resell the customers you have. This is where they still want to come and resell your staff. At least for this point in time, this is the place they want to work. So do not ignore past clients, because another question that I used to ask fairly new customers was, how come you happen to be doing business with us? And we heard, oh, we moved to this building, or my friends recommended us to you. However, I often heard is, we went to another stylist and they were really good until they considered me their customer and they stopped trying as much. So one, hang on to the customers you have. Secondly, if you want more business, we have to always look at what else can we sell to the customers that we have, or how can we get larger tickets or larger audiences, and then finding new prospects. A few weeks ago, I interviewed Joanne Black, who is the author of No More Cold Calls, and her whole business is around getting referrals. And it is amazing, and I will be the first to admit, I have a lot of business that comes from referrals, yet I don't have a consistent way to ask for referrals. So if you wanted to find customers, one, the first part would be go through your happy, satisfied clients and just one, keep in touch and say, who else do you know who would enjoy this service? So for example, we have on the 19th of November, we have 2 webinars that are virtual events like this, how to be a great speaker easily, conveniently, and quickly. You are certainly available to come. We will be delivering content as we always do. However, we're going to introduce people who don't know us to FrippVT, and we would appreciate your recommendations. Now, I'd also like to know, and Paul will put up another poll, are you an International Coaching Federation member? Because we're also delivering a webinar on building your reputation and your business that, again, you are very welcome to join. However, because we give continuing education credits to ICF members, and if you are one, you can get credit with your FrippVT. And we can certainly tell you how to do that. So we are growing and expanding ways that we can serve our market. So I'm asking for recommendations that any friends who might be interested in those events, please recommend them. We'll show you how to get the links. So on this call, we don't have any. I do have some VT users who are, but obviously not listening in. However, if you have any friends, please refer them to that. Everybody else refer to the other, and we present them at 2 different times in the day, 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock, to serve markets. So ask for referrals. Then, depending on your business, there is certainly the networking aspect when you go out into the community. Susan Rowan, one of my hanging around buddies, and if you hear any pieces of advice that you like, Melanie, our director of social media, would tell you to tweet it out, #FrippVT. And Susan and I we have an activity that is natural. It's second nature. We never discussed it. We just do it. And it's what I call travel with your own PR agent. A couple of weeks ago, I was working with one of my large banking clients, and this was getting all the relationship managers who go out very active in their communities to do this. And it was not second nature to them. It's a matter of what you do is you work on your introduction of each other before you go out. So, for example, when I'm out with Susan, I will walk up to, if she's talking to somebody, say she's talking to Paul, she comes up and she'll say, Paul, may I introduce you to my friend, Patricia Fripp? She truly is one of the best speakers and speech coaches in the country. In fact, Kipling, a personal finance magazine, said the 6th best way to invest in yourself is to learn presentation skills from Patricia. And I'll say, and Susan is far too modest to tell you, she's the best-selling author of 6 books. She's been on the front cover of USA Today in the Wall Street Journal. She's even been on Playboy. And Susan will say, yes, but not as a centerfold. Now, you see, what we do, we have some fun repartee that makes us an object of interest to other people. And your goal is to be the most memorable person they meet at that event. And here's another secret: whether you are cold calling, when you're talking to clients, when you're out networking, and this is worth tweeting, #FrippVT. And that is, pause for dramatic effect with a cough. I will take a sip of water. Drum roll, please. To be interesting, you have to be interested. To be interesting, you have to be interested. So when you are out, certainly you can use the travel with your own PR agent if you're with someone. Always remember the principle we teach you in FrippVT when it comes to sales. And that is everybody in the world and everybody in your network and all your prospects are much more interested in themselves than they are in you. And if you work on that principle, you will never go wrong. Now let's take this back to when you want to drive business and getting more business. So for example, if you are in a business that you start with a phone call, or perhaps you are on a phone call, many of our clients in VT are on the phone and webinars. So if you are on webinars to talk to people, your prospects, we always recommend you turn the webcam on when you are talking to your client or prospect. If you're then doing a demo, you can turn it off, as Paul often does. But what I am doing, and you've probably noticed, and if you're regular to our user groups, one of the reasons that Paul reads most of your questions and handles the polls is a couple of reasons. One, I am taking all my energy to focus on you. What am I going to say in the audience? Not the technology. But two, what I am doing, I am looking at you most of the time through the webcam. And obviously, if you're looking now, if I'm looking at the polls or reading your questions, can you see my eyes go down? I want to make eye contact with my prospect as I am with you. So turn it on if you have a webcam. We are now doing most of our conversations and demos for FrippVT and prospecting calls. As far as once we have somebody to talk to, we are doing those in a technology called zoom.us. And that can be, we're both on webcams. So I can see them, they can see me, they can see Paul as well. And he can drive demos, show PowerPoints. So I'm sure you will agree, if you can actually see people, it's easier to develop a relationship. Anyway, let's go back to the point. The point is, people are more interested in themselves. And if you are interested, you will appear to be interesting. So what most sales professionals have a tendency to do when they get someone on the phone or on a web event is to talk about themselves. I'm Patricia Fripp. I'm with the Fripp Virtual Training Company. We've been in business for this long. This is what our unique methodology is. These are the clients that we serve, and we'd like to help you. No. Step back. Now, for our corporate clients, and I know many of our corporate clients who are tuned in, you lead with advice, you lead with information, and then you ask questions. Because it is much better to have a customized conversational presentation based on their areas of opportunity, their challenges, or their interests. Now let's look at the speakers and consultants. For us, the best way to drive business, now you do have to have someone to talk to. And we get business. I don't know about you. I get a lot of business because of my website, because I'm active in social media. I blog a lot. So we have a lot of activities that make the phone ring or the inbox full. So, for example, if I get an email inquiry, I had 3 this morning about speech coaching. First of all, before I respond, I do a Google search to see if I can find the person. And usually 95% of the time, then you find them in LinkedIn. And when I send an email, or it might sometimes be a video email. The first line is, congratulations, you have a very interesting bio. Or something that I've picked up about them. I'm talking about them first. Then, thank you for your inquiry about. And the next logical step is for us to have a conversation. And when somebody says, oh, how do you work with executives, for example? This is a question I get all the time. I say, well, let's step backwards for a moment. If we were locked in a room, what speech would we be working on? And this is a technique that I call sell by doing, don't sell by telling. And even our corporate clients can probably incorporate that idea. You give them advice. Now, for speakers and consultants, I remember years ago, Danny Cox, who is a Hall of Fame keynote speaker, he was an expert in the real estate industry, turned around offices. And sometimes he would talk to people and they would say, well, we appreciate it, but we're not going to have a speaker, or we're considering another speaker. And Danny would say, well, it's okay. Just as a thank you for considering me, what problem do you have on your desk right now that I could give you some advice on, because I've been in the business for so long? And based on giving his free advice to whatever they were working on, he often converted it, if not for this event, for consulting or training in the future. So it's always come from a point of view of being of service. So show your advice. There are other very famous rich consultants that will say, tell people what they can do, sell them how to do it. And certainly, I'm not going to give you 4 days of speech coaching for no investment. I certainly am willing to invest 20 minutes or half hour if you are a good prospect, so you have a good feeling of what it would be like working with me. Because you don't want to work with people that aren't a good match. So with that, Paul, can we see, are there any questions?
Not right now.
So people are interested in finding customers. So let's put up a poll. Is this information helpful? And that means, so far, has this advice been helpful to you? I'd also suggest that you join, and this is a strategy that Melanie has us do, is get active in LinkedIn groups. Now, you can't be too promotional. What you have to do, you have to be engaged. In fact, Paul, after this poll, let's put up another. Are you a member of our FrippVT LinkedIn group, which is, it's not very old, a couple of months, 2.5 months. However, we get very high rave reviews because everyone's very active, and I do give them advice. One of the local most recent conversations is on writing your title and your content to get more attendees come to your sessions when you're at conventions. So let's see. Oh, everyone's find the information helpful. Well, good. So will you please send a specific question? So we have, let's do a quick review. 1, maximize the clients that you have. Ask for referrals. And Joanne Black would say, Fripp, you have to have a strategy. Third, and this is an addition to this one. One way you can get great third-person endorsement stories is to follow up with past clients. And I got this idea for Melinda Henning, and this is years ago, and she delivered training on sales training for phone sales training. And she said, you want to be the most interesting message at the end of the day. So it might sound something like this. Hello, Paul. I never get tired of telling the story about the great success we had working with your sales team. I would like your permission to use this example in my sales presentations. Can we have 5 minutes to talk where you can tell me, one, did we meet and exceed your expectations? How long was it before you got a return on the investment? And look forward to hearing when it's convenient for you. This way, you will find not only will you get great stories, I promise, because this has worked for me, it's also worked for me when people have been calling me just to say hi. You will hear, oh, you know, we've been talking about you, or we were thinking, you know, we need a speaker for the same conference you spoke at. It's only 3 weeks away, but they really liked you. I bet you've got another speech. A lot of this is your call on the right day. And here's the Frippicism, hashtag FrippVT. It's not your client's job to remember you. It's your obligation and responsibility to make sure they don't have the chance to forget you. So has this info? So did we have another poll, Paul, about the LinkedIn group?
Yes. Yes. One moment.
All right, good. So Junior, you see, you were so excited about this content. You're thinking how to build your business. Good.
And while they're answering those polls, we do have a couple of questions.
Oh, goody.
Specifically. For David, can you say more about getting referrals? I find my happy clients often say they will provide referrals, but it is very difficult to schedule calls to discuss this.
All right. Then what I would do is you could leave a message, Dave, and say, hi, Patricia. I know you were thrilled with the training, or you were thrilled with your product or service. I know you're busy. I am going to send you an email with 3 lines of information for you to forward to the person you said you had referred me to. And if you could copy me so I have their email address. Remember, I am going to be very respectful for their time, and I value your recommendation. So we're going to try and make it as easy as possible. For example, one of my referrers was just at a conference, said, I talked about FrippVT to several people. They might be calling. I know they won't call. I need to call and say, well, who were they? Let me call them. Because at a trade show, people might honestly be genuinely interested. However, they get back to their life and they forget. All right, next question.
Next question is from Beth. She says, successfully surprised in a webinar last week. Your words were, you can be confident that we will, but I'm still struggling with a strong opening without speaking about our business.
All right. Now, could she type in what she now says?
All right, Beth, if you'll enter the chat box, your current opening statement.
Yes. But let's look at some suggestions. Some could be as simple as you know, the ABC company is a leader in the field. Certainly, there are other companies that deliver a similar service. However, none can boast that they bullet. Thank you for the opportunity to demonstrate why we have the reputation of being #1 in the field. Now, hopefully some of that would be adaptable for anyone. Now, if you're going to take advice, so it could be as simple as, Paul, as you know, or if you're speaking to a group, let's imagine you're talking to an individual. Paul, as you know, the biggest challenge for travel managers is to. Now, give them what is the biggest challenge. Would you have time for a conversation on how we could eliminate some of that frustration, save you at least 30% of your time, and give you the opportunity to focus on the higher payoff areas of your job? Now, it doesn't take long to do that. And the best recommendation is script that. And of course, if you're on the phone or a web event, you can actually put your notes. So that's a lot easier to do. Getting off to a good start when you can't see people is a lot more difficult. All right, do we have the opening line?
She said that she just tells stories about other successful past performance.
Yes, that's good. But for example, but you have to have a way to start. So the story would be, perhaps you can relate to Mary. So you see, what we want to do, we want to emotionally connect. We need to bring the audience into our story. Perhaps you can relate to Mary's situation. Or, how often have you received a call at 2 o'clock in the morning? Help, my boiler's broken. Well, that was the situation Mary found herself in. So perhaps that was before she did business with you, or perhaps it was when she did business with you. And then she said to you, oh, thank goodness we changed to do business with you. So the secret is, it's a good technique to start with a happy client story. Find a way. And here are some lines. Can you relate to? How often have you been in the same situation as Mary? Now, why we say is how often? Because if you say, have you ever had this challenge? Well, once, yeah, I lived through it. But how often have you? Then we really want to know how we can solve the problem, because it's frequent. Any other questions or comments?
From Elaine, she said that she's asked for testimonials and the email that she gets doesn't have enough details for a client's story. How would you suggest calling the person back to get more details without seeming like a pest?
Well, how about sending a little gift? And it could be something very simple. And I look forward to our conversation about your reference. But honestly, people will, just because they like you, it says, know you're busy and well, what I often do is I will say, based on our conversation, you said bullet, bullet, bullet. I'm going to put that in email and get your permission. So you can do the work for them. That's what I would do based on the conversation. Or I will give them a framework that I'm going to fill in the slots, or they can fill in the slots, and then say, don't worry, I'm going to have it proofread. So it doesn't, see, you don't want them to spend much time. You'll clean it up. And because people often send references, and many of you know my friend Darren LaCroix, and he would take references and use them. I said, no, you got to rewrite them, because you need to rewrite them if they're going to be on your website, so they actually be useful with keywords. So people might say, I loved your training, but I want to say, dear Patricia, as you know, we have a seasoned sales team, and they really appreciated your advanced sales presentation skills training, because when it's on the website, I want the keywords. So that's why you take the liberty to tweak it. Any more questions or comments?
Also from Elaine, she needs more testimonials for client stories or presentation. She sees these people once in her audience and never again. How would you suggest getting feedback whether they applied the info that she taught them was useful?
Well, it's anecdotal. So it's simple as at the end of your presentation, you can say, you can ask them to raise their hand if it was useful. You know, I wouldn't worry about it too much. You see, if people say, oh, this was very helpful, this was beneficial, could you say, can I use that on my website? Do you have a card? Or very often people will give you great comments. I said, can I put that in writing on my, or would you put that on writing? But you don't need to say, in fact, you don't have to. Give me your card, I'll send it back to you, and you could figure okay. Plus, you have a lot of friends who sat in your audiences who were quite impressive, like me. You know, you can't have all speakers and consultants, but you can have a few. All right, now, Paul, is it time that we switch topics? So we've got Find Your Customers, and everyone thought that was helpful. 65% or 62% are not in the LinkedIn group. Now, our LinkedIn group, and Paul, can you put in the chat box, or you'll send it to them afterwards where they can go?
I'll do both.
Okay, good. And this is also available to non-VT users. We branded it as FrippVT because that's the brand we want to promote. But anyone who is seriously interested in speaking, even if they're not VT members, can join. And it really is a great community, getting more and more value, which is another way to get business. And if you, of course, if you're a speaker and consultant, you can blog. And many of my corporate clients have their own entities, and they do encourage people to blog and Facebook and tweet. However, remember, this is not you. This is your business persona. So don't put anything about, oh, I like drunk last night. This is your corporate persona. So now we want to find audiences. Is that right, Paul?
Yes.
Because nobody wants to find content. However, if you want to find customers, revisit your superstar sales presentations, and we are going to take you over there. And in fact, Paul, why don't we go over to FrippVT? Because next time you sign in, it's going to look a little different. And we will do that in the not too distant future. So let's look at finding audiences. And again, if you are one of our corporate clients, consider it finding prospects to speak to. So speakers and consultants, everything always starts with who you know. If you want audiences, let everybody know that you are available, and that's why it's helpful in a blog or a website to have all the information, because these days we have very sophisticated clients, and most individuals and companies have already researched us long before we have the conversation. In fact, with many corporations, my clients tell me that our prospects know more about our product or our service or our technology than our new salespeople. All the more reason to start the conversation with, how much do you know about our company? Because it's redundant if you talk about your company if they know a lot. So find out, and then, so that's for our corporate clients, and then say what you might not know. You can vet in your own community. You can, just with a Google search, find out clubs and associations put in your city. Then I would look at Where is a natural link for you? So, for example, I was in the hairstyling business, but from the hairstyling business, although that was logical for me, my first clients for speaking came out of my clients in my salon, because they were all business professionals. So the clients who have done business with you in the past will do business with you in the future. Let them know what you're doing. You can certainly look at, and there is a directory of associations. So what are related industries? Now that's going to take some work, but not too much. Now what you can also do, and this is a little sneaky, if you're an established speaker and you know there are speakers who speak within your same client group, you can look for press releases of these speakers. So you can put press release, or you can find out who your competition is, or people that you often follow or you precede them, and with some simple searching, you can find out the groups that they spoke for before. Then it's a matter of speaking for the influencers of influencers. In the speaking industry, there are groups such as National Association of Catering Managers, Hotel Sales Managers, Meeting Professionals International, American Society of Association Execs. These are all bodies of people. Half of them would be suppliers, but half of them are talking they work in the meetings industry. There's also special events groups. There's, I say NACE, I told you that. PCMA, which is the Professional Society of Medical Execs. These are all groups who have local chapters. And I was always recommend go to a meeting as an attendee. And then while you're there, it'd be a lot easier to say, oh, I enjoyed the program. Would you ever be interested in this type of program? So hopefully that is helpful. Paul, are you still with me?
Absolutely.
Good. So do we have any other questions?
Denise asks, how do you train from not getting people I know in charities?
Well, charities do pay for their big events. Make-A-Wish, for example, I've made money from. I've been a big fundraiser with several charities who I have spoken for, and there have been situations where they want me at events that they have paid me for. One of my biggest places that I donate my time and money are also one of my biggest, a very well-paying client. So you can get money from them. However, look at charities. Within charities, you have boards of directors who have companies, or they have volunteers from companies. They have corporate presidents, a corporate presence for the group. And these are places that do pay. And think of it this way. Whoever has hired you with another profession can hire you this way. And your promotion needs to be ongoing, consistent, and relentless. You start, you don't stop, but you do revisit, you rewrite, you refocus what your message is. And when people call you and say, what do you charge? You've got to have an answer. And if you're speaking for nothing and nobody ever asks you, perhaps you need to get back to FrippVT and tweak your presentation. However, what you might also just want to do is within your, first of all, your bio. We're very thrilled to have Mary speak on how to maximize your corporate board. She's very much in demand as a speaker and consultant in this market. And so in your introduction, it lets people know this is your profession. They might not be paying for you, but this is your profession. And within your presentation, you talk about your clients. So when I was consulting with, just last month, I was in Cleveland addressing a national society for another charity. So you see, you let them know with your stories and examples. More questions, Paul?
That's all we have.
All right, good. Now we were going to go over to FrippVT just so that the next time our attendees sign in, their screens might look a little different, even though the links are going to go to the same place. So, Paul, would you like to make any comments? Because you didn't know it had changed until you signed in this afternoon.
No, I didn't. The things that I like the most about the way this has changed is it gives the user a lot more upfront information, how many times you've signed in, your activity, what you've looked at recently. So if you've started something, you need to pick it back up again, click right there. And if this is just too much for you to look at all at once, you can click show less, and it pretty much has the same look and feel as the previous interface did.
Good, wonderful. What Lightspeed, which of course is the company who created this and hosts this, they're making all the sites more user-friendly, more modern, easier on, although all the platforms, all the VT systems for Fripp and my other various friends work on mobile devices. They're always finding how to make them work even better and faster. And Paul, if you can go into the training center, couple of areas I'm going to ask you to focus on. If you want more customers, then superstar sales presentations. Certainly, it's not designed to specifically, how do you cold call? However, it will give you great ideas that when you're having conversations with your clients and your prospects, it will drive more business. That I promise you. Then when it comes to getting audiences, it's not specifically about getting audiences. However, if you look, Paul, there's a course on, if you look up at the top, the second course, which people weren't interested in today, but finding your content, discover the treasure trove in your life, that is where you would find more content. And Paul, if you can go down to not just for professional speakers, that one, 17 ways to customize your speech. When you find ways to customize your speech, you are considered an industry expert and you will get more business. And it's not that complicated. In my career, I have been considered an expert in manufactured housing, death care, and payroll. Now, again, for our corporate clients, how this pays off for you. Yes, you are going to give a similar sales presentation to different companies or different individuals. However, find something different about this industry, this company, or this person. So make it look fresh. It isn't exactly the same as everybody else. So they are a couple of places that will reinforce our subjects for today, even the one you weren't as interested in. So are there any other questions or comments?
Danish asks, how do we convince poor orators that they need help?
Ha ha ha. Well, the question that I ask a lot of people that inquire with me or part of my clients who don't know if they need the training the company's brought me in for, have you ever recorded yourself? Because people will not improve what they are not aware of. And you could say is I'm certainly not going to give any unsolicited advice, but you might know I'm in Toastmasters, I've invested in FrippVT, or I am a student of speaking, if you'd ever like some advice. But it's very difficult to go up to people and say you're miserable, unless you're in an environment that it's safe, and that's part of your job. So
then from David, as a speaker, are there sections of FrippVT where I can go to improve my sales presentations and the way I interact with clients? For example, superstar sales presentations.
Superstar sales presentations. We have companies that sign up for FrippVT just for that course. So I absolutely promise that is the place to go. Now, connecting to the audience is good for speakers and for salespeople, because even if it's 1 people or 5 people, it is your audience. And then again, specificity builds credibility, and some of that is in the sales course. But if you wanted a quick one-off, specificity builds credibility. There are 2 subjects: specific language, which you know is my favorite subject, and then 2 is fat and skinny words, which is how you present information to a technical and less technical audience at the same time, or someone who knows a lot about your content or little about your content. So I hope that helps.
And those are all the questions for now.
All right, good. Now, Paul, when is our next FrippVT user meeting?
That would be December 15th at 3 p.m. Pacific time.
And you are in for a treat. If you are one of our corporate clients or if you're one of our speakers, my Christmas present to you is we have a celebrity interview. Now, perhaps our corporate clients aren't familiar with Kelly Swanson. She spoke at the National Speakers Association last year, and I was blown away. I laughed, I cried, I thought, and she told a story about 4 motivational speakers and a waitress. That, just thinking about it, it has an emotional connection. How you can be hysterically funny and poignant and tell a story that is almost in rhyme. And we will send out a link for her so you can research in advance. And if you watch that specific story about the motivational speakers and the waitress, then it will be easier for you to ask her specific questions. So with that, Paul, do we have any other polls?
We do not. We are fresh out of polls. And then Denise did ask.
Okay, good.
If, Denise, you're getting closer. She asked if that was what the statue was behind you, and was it from the Speakers Hall of Fame?
Well, actually, thank you very much for asking. This is the Cavett Award. Now, believe me, it's taken all my strength and working out muscles to lift it. Cavett Robert was the founder of the National Speakers Association. And this is a philosophy that we have in the National Speakers Association that I would like to share with sales teams. Cavett said, let's not fight over pieces of the pie. Let's make the pie bigger. And with sales teams, obviously we have sales contests and we're a little competitive. However, what I would encourage all my corporate clients to do is with FrippVT, especially the sales course, to look at ways that everyone can better tell this story and share it with each other, so that you can really learn. And in-person training, often I hear, we hired you for sales training, or we hired you for presentation skills training. This was the best team building exercise we ever had. So even with the virtual, as part of sales meetings, get everyone to stand up and tell a story or share, what did I learn in FrippVT? Make it part of the culture. And that is the best way. And that comes from Cavett. The Cavett Award, we just give one per year. It is for the member who has done the most for the speaking industry and NSA. And usually it's given for years of contributions, not just 1 year. We compare it to the Oscar, how it would be more, it wouldn't be the Oscar so much for the best acting job, it would be for someone who's contributed to the industry. So with that, Paul, have we shown everyone where the LinkedIn group is?
Yes.
Good. And everybody knows the date of the next event?
They do.
Good. And how about doing one quick poll on the fly, Paul, is, do you commit to go into FrippVT tomorrow? We really appreciate that you send us money every month. However, we want to earn it. Everybody, and this is a great line you might want to use in your own presentations. This would be true for our corporate clients. It would be true for our speaker clients. And this comes from Ken Blanchard, the 1 Minute Manager. Do you have an interest in or a commitment to? So, for example, I could say, I know you have an interest in speaking. You invested in FrippVT. However, if you are committed to becoming a great speaker, you'll be in there on a regular basis. Then also for our corporate clients, you can say, you are interested in serving your clients. If you are committed to, you will look at ways to clearly articulate our value. And with that, Paul, so is everyone said logging in tomorrow? 100% said yes. Now, remember, I will see your activity. So with that, if there are no more questions, thank you for your active participation. Thank you for your support. If you have any technology questions, send them to Paul. If you have any questions about content, send them to me. And we look forward to seeing you at our next meeting and perhaps some live meetings in between. And oh, Paul, I know we want to bring up FrippVT to show people where they would get the links for the upcoming meetings, one to share with their friends or to sign up themselves, and any event that is open to the public, or they can buy tickets or Toastmaster clubs. So you would go to fripp.com and then click on in the bar. Paul, can you do the circle? Yes, around the events. So next we have coming up, that's we put the VT meetings here. So you can always, if you forget, we list them. These, of course, nobody can link to them who is not a VT user, but you will see the date. Of course, I'm going to be speaking at the Sales 2.0 meeting coming up in Philadelphia. And then as soon as we're back from there, talking to sales managers from around the country, these are the where you would sign up for the how to be a great speaker easily, convenient, and quickly. Send your friends. You are very welcome to join us. We will be giving real content and also introducing people to FrippVT. And then if you go down the page a little more, this is the one for the International Coaching Federation. However, remember, anyone else in the world can come in. We're talking about building your credibility in your business with powerful presentations. And then in December, with Darren LaCroix, we have a coaching camp in Las Vegas, and some of our attendees here will be there. That is the last coaching camp I have committed to do with Darren. I said that doesn't mean I'm not going to do anymore. I'm just not committing to anymore. And then for my friends in the San Francisco Bay Area, I will be speaking to the Golden Gate Breakfast Club. It's Executive Speech Coaching Secrets. And that will be December 9th, early in the morning. Now you know where to find all the upcoming events if you forget. So with that, please, we are asking for referrals to come to our other events. And with that, happy Thanksgiving. And Paul and I look forward to serving you in any way you want us to. Remember, all learning takes repetition and reinforcement. See you soon.